Man, family, I think you can hear me now. What the hell? Can put a one in the chat if you can hear me now. Put a one in the chat. Stormy is waiting. A one in the chat if you can hear me now, family. What the hell? Yo. Okay, Eric R., I see you with the one. I had to wait because there's always a delay between what's live with me and what you guys are hearing. Man, do you guys know my computer just totally changed its audio output? That was by the computer itself. I have not been on it all day. I did a show last night with Kurt and Blood. Come back on today. It just did its own thing. It switched my audio to off where you couldn't hear me through my microphone or anything. So I apologize for that. It was nothing that I had done. The only thing I did was put some pictures in for tonight's show. So I never messed with my settings. So I apologize, sincerely apologize for that delay, man. This is ridiculous. These computers, man, are going to be the death of us because they have that AI. They do their own things. And this whole thing is a prime example of that. I could see if I was tinkering around or anything, but I had done nothing no different than just get started a little late because I was taking a nap. So I apologize, man, sincerely. But we're here, man. And for what it's worth, we're ready to bring you a show. I killed enough time, so Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens should be in any moment now because he comes in after work. But this is ridiculous, man. Oh man, it just threw my whole psyche off here. Bruce goes out there in that super chat donation along with Dre Finest. Appreciate you brothers for doing that, and I appreciate everybody who's hanging in there with Stormy B, man, with this technical difficulty, man. But we're back, we're rolling, and we could go ahead and start talking about some things. But yeah, man, we had a chance this week to see exactly another of the seedy side of boxing, the dirty side of boxing. When we had, the conversations that took place about Mark Breland, going over there and doing an interview with Tunde and Spencer Fearon, and a lot of people feel like Mark Breland went over there and he could have, if he wanted to have an interview, if he wanted to air his laundry or even just state his case or whatever, he may have been able to do that here on this side of the pond, as far as media-wise, looking to connect with the public and voice whatever it was that was in his, mind or whatever, right? But that was not to be the case. He went over there to the other side, and people have drawn lines in the sand, and we're called, we could actually call it where people feel like it's us against them or whatever, because the whole ordeal and the fallout in the aftermath of the rematch that took place between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, have seen boxing at its most ugly, you know. And here's my man, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, in the studio with me now. What's good with you, Reggie? How you doing this evening, bro?
Doing good, OG. Doing good, man. I'm glad we talking on this convo right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll let you get cooking in just a second. But I wanted to run this by you, Reggie. It's like, this was the weirdest thing. This computer reset itself to the defaults on the audio, as far as, you know, the Discord and you know, how I opened it up for you to come in, and Kurt and any other guests we have. It changed itself back to default, and I hadn't cut it off. That's the funny thing. I just put the computer on sleep, you know, when I wasn't using it from last night to today. So it just reset itself, you know. Computers ain't supposed to do that. They're supposed to wait for your commands to reset themselves. But I'm starting to really learn what's happening with this, as I was able to discover what the problem was, as you saw right away. But I didn't do it. It did it on its own, man. That's the craziest thing, bro. That gives me the creeps, man.
Yeah, these some complicated pieces, man. But you know they put their software in certain places, so they do their thing, man. Don't let it trip you out. This it is nagging and annoying as hell when they do that, though.
Yeah, I think it might have gone for an update or something like that. You know what I mean? And that may have been why it did what it did, but I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't ask for that particular command. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, Reggie, let's get on down into it, man. When we talk about this whole thing from how its inception, Mark Breland, you know, and I'm sure that Tunde and Spencer weren't the first people to ask him, hey, you want to talk about this or whatever? Because, you know, you've always got people over here on this side of the pond with the various communities. They would love to relish the opportunity to have a powwow, right? So the fact that he did that, and what's going on behind the scenes, what may be taking place legally and everything, it really stinks that he decided to go over there like that. And he makes himself look very shady. You know what I mean? And I'm choosing my words carefully, because we really got to see how this is going to play out. But just come on in with your thoughts, and we can get this conversation started on this subject.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Me, I'm on the opposite side of what y'all think about Mark Breland. I don't believe none of that, because what stems from this is the fact that Deontay Wilder comes out here and he scandalizes his name, and the fact that Breland has stood quiet for quite some time. And the first show I've seen Breland on since the fight he was on World Breaker show probably a few months ago. And his thing was he didn't want to touch on that, so he tried to steer clear of that. When he got over there, they asked the questions and he spoke on it. And I don't know why people are surprised that he would make statements like that. For someone to come out and say that you done been part of a team and make a statement, a start-off statement that you done drugged them, you done did this and that to them, without any proof to back that. And for people to be, because a lot of people, you know, Deontay Wilder, one of the favorite fighters in the game, but to sit behind those claims and drag a dude who's kind of been nothing but a prestigious dude throughout his life. I ain't heard nothing negative in my entire life about Mark Breland. But to come off the heels of a fight in which he stopped it because everyone else, who's a bunch of yes people, sit around there and go watch this dude get his brains beat out in a fight that possibly could have been canceled to begin with, based on the condition in which Wilder walked in there, to even think he had a chance. And now all this other susceptibilities, you know, suspicions that stem around this whole fight is the fact that this dude took the initiative of going against, you know, the wishes of a fighter. But when it comes down to that, the decisions aren't made by a damn fighter when he get out of a fight. It's made by a coach and by a team. And if this dude to make a decision of where he cared to stop the fight, The fighter not wanting that, he has every right to get rid of this guy off his team, being he wants those wishes granted. But that's some questionable stuff to have a team to sit by while your fighter's then about to get the life beat out of him. That shit is ignorant to me. But then to later come out and say the guy spiked your water, it was poison, and you provide no proof. Because when the drug tests were given, you pass it. So, but to take a guy who has been a historic figure when it comes to the American side of boxing, and you drag his name through the mud, I have an issue with that. So I'm siding with Breland on that. But and also in this whole aspect of everything, I hope they together work out this issue and find a way to forgive each other. They can't ever work together again. That's a foregone conclusion. That's over. But to own up to the mistakes, own up to the scandalized words that were stated, and they just learn to move past it without dogging each other. Because that what comes out of this situation is foul, and Mark Breland ain't stem it. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and you know something, Reggie, I wasn't trying to say that, you know, what he said was wrong or whatever, because he's got to have a position in this, right? Whether it's something that we agree with, disagree with, whatever. My thing was, it looked awfully shady for him to run over to those guys. You understand? That's the thing. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys, right? You got the Hatfields and the McCoys, and even if somebody wants to have a mediation, you don't go across the rope to the side of the so-called people that you're warring against to give them access to whatever it is may be from your side, because you look like, and I'll use the word, traitor. Okay, you look like a traitor when you move like that. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, again, and we can agree to disagree in this, but the man was hired under certain circumstances where there was a means of protocol to be followed. And one of those things that is as crazy as it may sound to us, and I've worked in corners, you know, with guys, is the fact that if he had a precedent in understanding in his camp that you don't throw the towel in, you let the referee stop the fight, which I thought, even when I heard this initially, I thought that was kind of odd, because, you know, this is a man who has family, he has children, you know, and everything. So to be so headstrong on that, it's like, that's kind of weird. But that was still his, you know, way of doing things in his camp. So if that direction is not followed, you do have to take an action. You do have to you do have to send that message home. But how about this? It really looks like it's a weird situation where the man was he was doing this under all these other auspices, right? And it looked like, hindsight being 2020, there was an assortment of circumstances that were operating against the interests of Wilder, and it looked highly stacked and favored, hindsight being 2020, for Fury to get beyond this in some kind of manner. But to go over there and to decide to talk to the media like that, which they have no regard and no respect for Wilder whatsoever. They don't. And these guys have spoken like that. They have moved like that this entire process. And it's funny how when he's made appearances over there, those microphones, their sound bites, all of that stuff has ceased. They're like, hey, what's up, Brown's Bomber, or whatever. But as soon as he's not in earshot or in physical presence, as Earl Spence has been known to say, keep that same energy. They haven't done that. So it's like you really have to question what their directives and motives are when they are out there behaving in a manner of which, if they can find as much to say negatively about him, they do. And they were inviting this man who has been cast out, you know what I'm saying, to their platform so they could do more of the same. This wasn't like, let's get to the heart of matters. This wasn't like, do you have some dirt for us? This was like more of the same of slanderous stuff. And then for him to make that comment about he can't beat Fury. You know what I'm saying? He knocked Fury out in the 12th round of their first fight. He knocked Fury out. The referee woke Fury up. He finished the round, and Breland left the corner when the fight was over. When the bell to the 12th round rang, Mark Breland left the corner. Was he unhappy that Deontay could have possibly gotten a decision out of that, and he walked away from the corner? Was he upset that Fury, you know, got up and finished the fight? Was he upset that it was a draw? We didn't get any of that, huh? But we didn't get any explanation on what are you doing, huh? And for the camp side of things, where you're talking about there's a line that could be for jealousy or something like that, isn't it something that if you're working with a fighter, you have no intimate attachment to him? You know what I'm saying? You have all of this, oh, I don't even have the guy's number, or I can't get a word in edgewise, but you've been there taking checks, bro, for a decade, huh? And it's like, now you want to talk about there's pee in the glass, not lemonade? You could have walked a long time ago. A long time ago. Nobody begged you to remain. Nobody anchored you down with chains. And this is how you behave. Remember, it's a sport where the personalities, they come and go. The sport remains. So this era, there's going to be a day that Deontay Wilder is no longer around, right? But wouldn't Mark Breland like to be able to work with somebody other than Deontay Wilder? So this whole thing here doesn't fit very well because you're not representing yourself in a manner that's trustworthy for the sport. You see? And, you know, integrity goes a long way, bro. You might not like how a trainer does go about his business or whatever, but if he's on a level playing field with you, if he's taking good care of you, if he's followed what you've asked of him, whatever your rules are in your camp or whatever, and you decide to part ways, that's the merit of which he'll be able to stand for when you're no longer working together, when he's out there. But when you're out there like this and you're whoring yourself out with information that is private and privileged and things like that, because there used to be this thing where they used to say what happens in the gym stays in the gym. You got guys out there now, they come running telling, yeah, I dropped so-and-so in the gym. Yeah, I knocked so-and-so out. Yeah, so-and-so got concussed. This and that. It's like those kind of discussions, they could get leaked out from other parties, but you got the actual participants doing this now, which is like you're breaking a certain code. And why would you want someone like that in your camp that's spilling the beans? Because at the end of the day, it could happen to them. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to the super chat out here. We got brother Kenneth Johnson out there in the super chat. He says, I'm sure when all is said and done, both sides will have regrets. time will work the situation out. I agree with that 1000%. And salute to the brother Kenneth Johnson with the donation, man. That is at the end of the day what's going to happen, because time will pass, time will move on. But as I was saying just a moment ago, when you have a guy that's participating in the sport where he's going to have a career of participating as the fighter, that has a timestamp on it. Trainers can train lifelong until they perish, until they leave this earth. But when you have someone who has questionable ethic, questionable trustworthiness, you know, then that's something totally else. And come on back with what you got to say, Reggie.
Oh, most definite, man. When it's so much, it ain't looking good with Wilder and them coming out with this crap. To talk about what happened in this first fight and him walking off is a bunch of crap. Now, with one thing they should, why wasn't that brought up as a question if they had an issue with the guy leaving after the first fight? How they know the dude wasn't pissed off that the fight wasn't called off when he knocked him out, and the fact that when he goes to the judges' scorecards, it's a draw? I'd have been pissed off as I was a team member, knowing damn well my fighter that knocked this dude out, and this dang whole arena behind the survival fury gives him a free way to get up out of a fight. I've been pissed off too. So for Wilder not to address that is bullcrap. It's just reaching, looking for something. The fact that all this stuff breaks down after a loss doesn't look good at all. And then to point it to the dude who saved you, what the hell? Maybe Mark Breland went through it. You got your wife out there. I ain't never seen his wife at a fight like that. She all around. You think he wants to watch this dude die in front of his damn wife? Like, people that lost their dang minds because people have turned into, this is what we talk about with this sport, where people become too much of a fans rather than really taking the sport for what it is, to where they have become suckers for somebody who they done turn into an idol, I guess, or whatnot. But being in there, I can't fault Mark Breland for his statements. Blood was first drawn. He was betrayed by this whole team, even before Wilder betrayed him. Jay Diaz was up there throwing this dude up under the bus. When I watched that post-fight press conference, I'm like listening, like, what the hell JD's doing? Like, that's foul. Like, what the hell he talking about? And then he just like, it was like to watch Jay Diaz's whole action of doing that. What is Mark Breland supposed to feel like? And then to hear the team that made this old man sit outside the locker room. So therefore the respect lines were drawn from there. And this dude stayed quiet about it until Mark Breland had every right to say even more than what the hell he said. And all you get is a bunch of Wilder defenders coming out here crying, like, cut the crap. Let's keep shit, I mean, let me not cuss, but let's keep things honest when it comes to the sport, because can't no other fighter pull the crap that is going on in this situation and everybody act like they cool. Like, stop it. Now, when it, and then on the other side of the thing with the jumping and running and other stuff, if that is the case, fix that, because there's things going into this third Tyson Fury fight that were Wilder and them doing in camp. You can't do that. There must be added stuff going into this training camp to defeat this dude. Tyson Fury, as much as you hate him, is not no easy victory. So people can get out all the clown stuff of he is soft punching dude. The fool's a giant. He got other stuff that works for him that makes him hard to defeat. And to go in here with a bunch of yes people is an issue. Even with the coaches, they ain't gonna fire JD's because JD's is too powerful in that Alabama sports program. And that's the dang issue. And I think he probably got Wilder tied up to however he's locked in the management. We can't get rid of the dude. So that's the reason why we see a disparity in how blame is passed along in his team. I think a lot of things is trash within the team. Now, I can't say that because they had success. Let me not just talk down on that team because they have had a level of success. But when coming up into this fight right here, you need more. And that's why people are asking for more. Oh, who should we get in here as a trainer? Because people know that there needs to be something more tightened up. And if you a real fan, you keep things real and stop making up excuses, crying for the dude, protecting the dude, whining like a bunch of babies. It's time to recognize everything that's wrong that you need to fix. Get away from this cheating stuff. Let the courts handle that. But when it comes down to this fight, camp got to be tight. You ain't got time to be worrying about who is snake and whatnot if you ain't going to get rid of them. Worried about what you're going to tighten up, who you're going to bring in. Stop bringing in friends to train you and bring in a real trainer who doesn't have a fighter tell them what the heck they can do and can't do. Like, that's crap to me. And as much as I like Wilder, I ain't no kiss ass and I ain't no yes man. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a couple of side notes here. I see my brother Blue Blood Sports TV out there. Salute to Blue Blood for stopping by the Friday night chop session. Much respect to you, Blue, and appreciate you chiming in and letting the people see that you're here. We got also out here Mr. Mechanical in the super chat says, "Facts, Stormy. Folks can't hold water no more." And Big Dog Willie in the super chat, salute to you, brother. He says, "Wilder and Breland are both guilty of being up in each other's feelings. This is a personal thing between them two. That's why I remain silent." Well, this is the thing about that, and I wanted to we can kind of go off the subject of right and wrong now, as far as, you know, like, did Breland do something wrong and this and that. Let's get to the fact of how the cohesiveness of a trainer and a fighter's relationship should be, and even when they come to a point where they may no longer work with one another, the significance of how parting the ways are supposed to be handled. And not just that, but a trainer's philosophy, when someone enlists the services of a trainer, has to be established in the door. Okay, apparently this may not have been done in this situation, because you can see how it's playing out. And a lot of times, even to get someone to honor that to a certain degree, you might even want to incorporate that in documentations for legal purposes. That's to keep the wolves at the door, and those who love to see dissension like this, media-wise or whatever, they could use that to help destroy you and destroy your image. And this is why these guys need to, you know, again, when know who you're getting in bed with, know what kind of worth you have and relationship you have. When you talk about guys like Emmanuel Stewart or Bill Miller and, you know, Bowie Fisher, those type of trainees, Eddie Futch, they had relationships with their fighters that had a certain amount of respect. But I would like to believe at the end of the day, even contractually, there may have been rhetoric in their documents that said, hey, even if we have a parting of the ways, we have to keep it, you know, we have to keep it graceful and make sure that, you know, we don't want slander coming back after this, because both of us will pursue other routes in life, and we are going to have other people that we work with. And we have to start with a line of discipline and respect. If you don't begin with that, it will not end well at all. And I think that that's something that, you know, should be a topic of discussion when it comes out of a situation like this. You know what I'm saying? Because even with fighters who are put on a path and they begin to have success and they begin to, like, let's just use Deontay as the example here. You're racking up knockouts. You're becoming more and more of notoriety. People are getting excited about coming to see your matches and this and that. Has there ever been a precedent where these guys talk behind the scenes and say, man, in light of everything that we're doing, these successes that we're enjoying, there's always the possibility you could be robbed in a decision. You could be stopped prematurely by a referee. You could be injured in a fight, like headbutt or cut or something like that, and that ends the bout, and you got to go to the scorecards. So how do you handle defeat? Huh? And I remember dealing with guys in the gym, especially in the amateur tournaments, man, where you get a guy that's coming from another city. He might be a regional champ or might have won the nationals or something, and you got to go in there and you fighting him in your hometown and you putting it on him, and they give the other guy the decision because he was the nationals champion or whatever. It's like you have to deal with this, and you have to deal with it in a manner of how, you know, it's all relative when you are in the midst of these circumstances. Character will provide insight as to where you will land, on your feet or on your behind. You know what I'm saying? So that's another aspect. And these trainers of today, which you hear me talking about it all the time, a lot of them have no attachment to the trainers of old. A lot of these are new wave guys. They come in there with a towel thrown across their shoulder and a pair of pads, okay? And they think that's a boxing coach. But there are other things, other aspects that you have to teach and mentor your protege as you're going through a camp, huh? You're talking to them all the time, okay? And one of the guys who has become a disliked person in the sport, Teddy Atlas, you know, he has a reputation of being a personality that may be a little bit out on the forefront. You know what I'm saying? But I understand the psychological aspect of what he tries to do with his fighters. But, you know, you have to be a little more diversified when you're dealing with different personalities. And if you're of one ilk, then you'll be in that box, but everybody can't conform into that box. You have to be able to be almost like putty, where you can reshape yourself and deal with the aspects of who you're seeing in society, different walks of life, participants in the sport, different background experiences and everything. But the one thing that remains is this: they are warriors, they are fighters. So you have to connect to that aspect and teach them the proper things. You know, to accept a loss is not like submitting to something. It's taking in the understanding that you have room to grow. It's taking in the mindset of making an adjustment so that this doesn't hold you up again in the future, that you can go forward and do something in a more progressive manner. That's very important. And a lot of these guys today, all they think about is wins and losses and how they can keep themselves from losing. You see, and if I have taught my guy well, I'm not afraid to put him in there with anybody. Okay? I'm capable of putting him in there because I've given him the keys of how to deal with that issue that the opponent across the ring has brought. I am not concerned about the judges, because my guy knows that if he takes care with these, he can make these his judge and jurors. Okay? But when you aren't secure, when you aren't assured of what your abilities are, where you've come from, what you bring with you, then you start sidestepping. Then you start looking for an avenue out instead of an elevator up. Huh? And that's what you have to understand is transpiring in boxing today. And you know why? Because a lot of these guys today, even though they're in the gym, even though they're competing in one of the most fierce sports and whatnot, they don't have the attachment to male machismo, testosterone based aggression, exuberance, mindset. All of that comes from where you come from. And don't forget, we got a lot of guys with fatherless homes and stuff like that. And I hate to take it there, but it's true. When you have so many men who don't know what it's like to be a man because they haven't had a proper example in their life to show them what a man is. Okay? Males, excuse me, males and men be two different things. And that is something that has to be looked at. Even taken to this situation. Excuse me, people, let me take a drink real quick. Even taken to this situation, you can see both how the Wilder camp and the Breland side haven't handled this situation like men. But Reggie, you want to come in with something? I want to clear my throat. I'm coughing.
Yeah. But no, you're right about the handling of the situation. It's a bad handling, and it's a bad fallout, and it's an embarrassing fallout for it to come to these terms after the event of a loss suffered within the team. And this is the worst public displaying of how a team really, it just shows how the team, the camaraderie within the team, it wasn't authentic. It wasn't real. This is almost like a forged relationship. And one of the brothers put that in the chat that he believes that like Shelly Finkel having something to do with forging a partnership, being this wasn't an authentic partnership coming in to begin with, and people vying for position and hierarchy and stuff. And that always plays within the ego of humans anyway. The other thing was one of the brothers or one of the cats in the chat was putting about how was Wilder not training? Wait, what was that comment? Hold on. Something about Wilder, how if Wilder's not trained and learning, how did he beat the Boogeyman and Ortiz? The thing of what you did to someone else doesn't matter and when you go in here against a new opponent. Everybody in here is like DNA. Ain't no two opponents the same. And even going into that Ortiz fight, if you're honest with yourself, you've seen regressions in the style in which Wilder fought. Been seeing that for a while, where he's relying on this one punch to be delivered. In that fight, he's losing. The thing that gave Wilder a lot of possibilities in that fight was the fact that he couldn't deliver that one shot. And he delivered that one effective shot. But going 7 rounds of not winning a single round of the fight, what happens if that punch never lands? Ain't no catching up. You cannot be that way. There's many things that Wilder ain't been showing in these fights because he's relying on these 2 seconds that he needs to knock someone else out when they have to be perfect through a whole fight. That can't be the mindset. And that's when he makes the comparison. When, historians make a comparison of whether or not he can compete in past eras, and their analysis is a quick no. And the thing is, because you don't see Wilder establishing all these tools, you see it through flashes of Wilder, and you know it's there. But when you start to get kind of caught up in the power and which is in a single punch, you drop everything else. You lose the jump shot. You forget how to dunk. Or you forget how to do the 360 dunk, whatever you want to call it. You have to apply these other tools. Tyson Fury ain't Luis Ortiz to begin with. Tyson Fury ain't what's his name? Bermain Stavern. Tyson Fury ain't Dominic Brazil. He ain't none of these dudes. Tyson Fury would have did the same thing we seen Wilder do to these dudes. He's a different animal coming into a fight. And you must tune everything up when you're going against these new challenges. The same way I always bring up with Floyd Mayweather. We knew he was a hard worker. He dedicated himself in that gym. You never seen him slacking. Cardio was never an issue. When he went in here against Pacquiao, wasn't no disrespect. Oh, Pacquiao ain't nothing. He done got flatlined by an opponent I done washed through. Oh, Marquez and flatlined him. I remember I got out of prison and I come back to the ring and I'm styling and playing around with Marquez. Mayweather ain't play with it like that. He respected who Pacquiao was, knowing a punch got landed on him. Pacquiao was still that danger. What Floyd go into? Floyd went back into the old Ray Robinson era, chopping down wood. If he did 7 miles in the camp, he probably went 10. If he did 2 a days in camps, he probably went 3, or however he went about it. He respected who that opponent was, and with him applying that work in camp, he made Pacquiao look like one of these ordinary dudes. And to me, that was a brilliant performance. It was a brilliant fight. That's what the science of fighting is about. Now, all these excuses people like to make, like, just tell me, a lot of y'all fake fans, y'all just kiss asses. Be honest when it comes to assessing this game. You got to go in here and apply himself with a real coach, a coach who would get in him to not allow you to sit in the fight and not throw punches and just wait for one punch. Like, stop it. But that's my thoughts, OG.
Yes, sir. And I just wrote something in the chat as a message to Focus Ball because I had invited him in tonight's show, Reggie, but due to all of the technical difficulties that I had at the beginning of the show and the loss of time starting the show, we'll bring him in at another time. But I wrote an acknowledgement to him in the chat so he would see that if he's still here. And I want to explain it on the air why I didn't try to send the link out, because I had too much other crap going on and I don't want to take up any more of their time like that trying to, you know, bring someone else on in case it's not working right or whatever. But it's working for us right now and I don't want to disrupt that. But I did extend an invitation for Focus Ball to join us for the chop session, but everything just kind of early on this evening.
Get him on, OG. I want to hear some more Wilder fan. I got to hear Wilder fan up in here.
I haven't set that up with him in Discord and everything. And like I said, for tonight's show, I didn't have enough time for that because.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so that's what that is. That it's not a matter of me not wanting him on now or anything. It's the matter of everything, you know, that goes with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like. I just don't want to, you know, we'll be basically trying to get him on Discord and signed up for Discord and everything during the show. And I don't want to take that left like that. So, and salute to Taylor Bell out there in the super chat. Says, good evening, sir. Searching for content. I hit the lotto seeing you're live. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. Maybe just 40 minutes. We do a 2-hour show on Fridays, Taylor Bell, 8 p.m. Central every Friday. Excuse me, you get the Friday night chop session with myself and boxing conversations with Reggie Owens. Reggie, that was a great, excuse me, my allergies are acting up now. That was a great conversation that you guys were having on your channel, you know, and I wouldn't mind us continuing a little bit of that over here where, you know, that great boxing talk that I came in on with you guys a couple days ago, man. You know, the state of boxing, there's a lot of things that really needs to be addressed, but you just heard me say at the tail end of my last comment, when we're talking about this whole thing about males, if people don't really understand, for lack of experience, of what it means to have male, manly-like presence in your life from a boy growing through to manhood, it's tremendously important. And we are missing a great deal of that in our communities because it assists with people being second-rated when they don't know how to deal with business head up. I mean, I've seen it out here in the community. I've seen it in personal life. I've seen it in professional life. That's something. And when we're talking about the participants of the sport, we're seeing a number of these young men out here, and they're behaving with a real, like, female-like mindsets when it comes to conducting business and whatnot. So I know when you guys were talking, that was one of the things that I was thinking about. But would you like to share with the audience here, like what that conversation that you guys were having the other day, and we can kind of go forward through there?
Man, no, you got to refresh my memory. We be having so many convos, OG. You got to refresh my memory.
No, you remember when you guys were talking about, the championship caliber fighters and how these guys are like, they're not I hate to continue to throw these certain terms around, but you touched on that whole thing about the lack of the alpha male aspect of it, you know, and it's like this just a couple of days ago, that stream that you guys had.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, because I always bring this up, and it's about the aspect of where they tear down, you know, man's men who are strict about the way in which they raise a child, and because of a strict father, a strict parent, and I hate that they get shunned on, they get viewed as being abusive, this and that, and they're ripped away to where you have to come in and almost be an absentee type parent to bring in the nurturing type I don't know, the nurturing type is what they want from a guy, and that doesn't work for a child. They have to have strict fathers who know the pitfalls of allowing the child to just go through life being spoiled without consequences to certain mistakes. And I think that's an aspect I refuse to let go, is to be a soft type parent. If I have to yell at my kids, I have to get up and whoop them, then that's what I have to do. And there's a purpose behind doing things like that. Is the fact that there could be, if you're doing something borderline to being dangerous, I gotta break that. I have to challenge you on that one. There's other things I'm trying to show you throughout life, and a lot of kids aren't getting that because there's this missing aspect of a man, being how people say they try to emasculate man throughout society, and we see that a lot with a lot of these fighters. You can't tell them anything.
Now that's the point I was going to say, because you guys were talking on that, but I said now bring that and correlate that in with what we're seeing in boxing today, where you see a lot. You don't see a lot of alpha male type tendency in these guys, even the ones who are champion. We saw a tremendous example of that recently when we saw Jamal Charlo out there talking, and then when Mr. Benavidez responded, then we saw something totally different, right? So it's like, that's kind of like where I was trying to lead you, you know, in that direction, because remember, in the sport of boxing, if you have the right mentoring, whatever you have to face out there, it's really no big deal, because we know that losing is a part of it, winning is a part of it, getting hurt is a part of it, hurting is a part of it, huh? But one of the things that is not really focused on is that this is a part of it as well. When your mind is cultivated, when the right things have been put here, you can be at peace because you are capable. You've been fed the correct information, huh? And all you need to be is in a situation where the questions are asked, and then you can provide the answers. And see, when you don't have that proper figure around you, bringing you along the way, teaching and coaching you those aspects, you have what we call plot holes, huh? And they can arise when pressure is on. Think about it. You're seeing it a lot. One of the things that some of these fighters who are in contention don't do is they don't fight one another, the contenders. Why? If I knock all of y'all off, the champ ain't got nobody else to look at but me, right? Right? So it's like these guys don't even face. You see what I'm saying? It's like, so where is that? They are sitting around waiting for a phone call, waiting for the what? Sometimes you have to take control of your life, grab it by the bullhorns, and make something happen. And we've seen it, the Teofimo situation, talking about the options of who to fight and whatnot, huh? You got guys there, Devin Haney. You go in there, you knock Devin Haney out. What does that really do? You think you had accolades, and you think you were showered with congratulations and things of that nature, right? But what would happen if you go out there and you stop Haney's show. That's instant elevation right there, right? And you've earned it, right? Or if Haney did it to Tio or whoever, when these guys face up with each other, that's what I'm talking about. And Haney has a strong father in his life. He's not the only one. But Tio got his father in his life and in his career. But you could actually see the difference in how people are moving. But I'm pushed that, I kind of pressed that situation, Reggie, because you guys had talked on some great points, and you can actually see how it's playing out in the sport of boxing, where these men are not, complete. I guess that's the best way I could put it. They're not complete. They're not whole because there's some plot holes there. They haven't been given what they should be given. And that will make a difference, especially at the top of the sport, where guys are fighting one another for championships and trying to retain and defend championships. That makes a difference at the end of the day. So that's what I was really trying to get you to go there.
Right. And you know what you bring me to when you look at the aspect of what these fighters do when, trying to be alpha and those around them who guide their careers, is you see the difference. I like to bring in Kenny Porter. Kenny Porter is the real definition of a father to me. He's straight when he needs to be, and I'm pretty sure him and Sean are friends when they need to be. But when it's serious business, Kenny Porter moves in a way in which a man should move. And this is the reason why we see what we see out of Sean Porter. Sean Porter has probably one of the best resumes of getting in there and fighting cats within this division. You're going to get it from Sean Porter. And you see who he challenges and going after. Now, when you look over at Teofimo's side of things, his father almost acts like Teofimo as if he's some type of teenager. He's trying to relive his youth through his son. And you see him move almost adolescent-like. In their movement of being adolescent-like, they're not willing to challenge to see how great they are. They're in it for, I can't even tell what's the motives behind these dudes. And I know for one thing, it's got to be money. They want it to last, but along with these challenges comes big paydays as well. One big fight may be able to generate what you may never see. And you mess around taking these little strategic moves that you're trying to take and lose everything to Cambosis, which would be a major, major setback for these fools. But the way in which that father moves, his adolescence type ways, it's a difference in there. He plays off macho. He may talk and cuss a lot, but there's certain aspects missing within him. There's something missing with him. And that same thing even in Angel Garcia. You see a piece of them that is missing. There's a youthfulness in them, a kind of street ignorance that's still left within them where they haven't fully developed into really being solid, tough type males like we see with Kenny Porter and things. And even the thing that held Adrian Broner back, it's another thing. From the moment I watched his father brush his hair, and then also to look back into a childhood video of Adrian Broner. And when this kid sat in front of a camera and talked about if he wasn't boxing, he'd be out robbing. Why is that aspect in that kid's mind? That's the moment that father should have took that kid off that camera and beat the dog crap out of him. You've seen the same thing in how a father developed Serena and Venus Williams. They don't come from no country club. Tennis is an expensive sport to be in. That dude did it from the mud, in the hood, where they even talks about they be out there and having to duck because they out there shooting on in the neighborhood around the park they at. That's what real solid fathers do, and nothing can stop that. And sometimes being a cool parent, the friend type parent or the friend type mentor, that ain't the way. It's nothing wrong with being strict and telling people like it is, even if it hurts them. Some people have to learn how to deal with the constructive criticism of a man and criticism of hate. And that's the problem. A lot of emotional people turn criticism into, oh, you just hating on me. And like, where do we get this crap from? And that's the thing that holds us back, is the fact that people don't like criticism. Some people get so riled up from criticism, they pull a strap on folks. And so many people's lives is lost behind women like men who are, born with the genetics of a man, but everything else is through the emotions of a woman. and they don't think with logic. They just react, and they out here tearing things up because they still have the physical strength of a man, but the mind and emotions of a woman. But not to knock women like that, but they know where I'm coming from. But that's my thoughts on that, OG.
Yeah, and this is definitely not a knock to women. It's a matter of acknowledging what the characteristic traits of women are as a whole, and because there are women who have alpha spirit as well, right? It's like it's just, that's just a fact. But when you're seeing men grow up in a society where they are taking on the personal effects of a woman, and don't even realize it, Reggie. I remember last week coming off of that discussion on Trill's channel, where he had Tunde on there, and the man was addressing the queens, Nikki and Baxiana, on there, and the way he was talking to them and the way he was carrying on, it was like you kind of question, is like, is that brother accustomed to having a conversation with a woman? Really? Because the way it was like he was trying to present himself like, you listen to me and it's like this or whatever. And it's like, dude, that is a woman you're talking to. You understand? And even though a woman can present herself with a certain amount of strength, she doesn't have to have a false impression of what a male figure is before her, because no matter how strong and willful she is or whatever, especially if she has intelligence, she can recognize that. You don't have to project it. She can receive it naturally, just like another man can receive the softness that might be in you as a man if you don't conduct yourself accordingly or whatever. It's like, the curtain will be pulled back and it's like you're revealed. So we see that in our society, but when it comes to the sport of boxing, you're seeing it in how the men move about their careers and what they're really trying to do. I have yet to see any of these guys go out there and say, give me him, and if I beat him, give me him, and if I beat him, give me him. That's not happening. But I'll tell you something. For those that want to talk about Canelo Alvarez, watch his career very closely now, going forward, now that he's gotten away from Golden Boy. Because just as I've had some conversations with some of the other brothers, we're getting ready to see what's happening with him. He's added these extra fights on his career. It's like he wants to fight multiple times. That's a great start, because he may be trying to send messages. And as long as he's fighting quality guys within those bouts, are we expecting him to fight the major leaguers every outing? No. But if he mixes in, like he had this fight with Smith, right? And then if he's going to have Saunders, if he mixes in someone else like a Plant or even a Charlo at the end of the year or whatever, it's going to be very interesting. Because if you don't think he's watched what happened and transpired with Charlo and Benavidez, he has. He's watched that. So it's like, don't be surprised if he starts saying he wants certain guys to get up out there with him, because at the end of the day, he can fight. He can take care of himself. It ain't like, I've never thought like he's afraid, shuddering, shaking from guys. But I do believe he learned what the formula about being dominant in the sport is from his lesson of losing to Floyd. He learned. And so he's trying to take that and make it possible for himself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because if he could get guys to fight him under his conditions at winning where he pleases and things like that, he's carving out that niche for himself. But can he go the other way and just start as a ram smashing against these guys and say, hey, we're going to see where the cards fall? Yeah, I believe that as well. but he's one man in the sport that is capable of that. There are others who may be capable, but we need to see them step up into that light. It's time for us to see boxing get back to the alpha aspect and not that beta aspect that we've been seeing so much for like the past 8 years or so.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like you were speaking about the contenders, it's time for the contenders. And even some of these champions are contenders when it comes to where Canelo positions himself, because everybody seems to be chasing after this one guy. It's time for these other dudes who are not Canelo, the non-Canelos, to stop chasing that dude, because no one monkey stops the show. Get in there and start fighting each other. Prove yourself. Show the boxing world, because when the boxing world sees performances rather than just chasing at the names, because the name is avoiding you, when you start putting down performances, it draws people to, man, who is this guy? Oh, I need to see more of him. And then you start to become the person that people want to set their eyes on. And then you force the champion to be jealous of that, not wanting to see his time in the shine start to fade away to where they come running for you. And this is what every single one of these dudes have to start doing. Stop chasing at this dude. You didn't call him for years and years. He ain't the only thing in boxing. There are other names out there. Y'all have to start contending with each other. And everybody's chasing after a big money champion. But that don't mean you're worthy of that fight. And Canelo, you know, to me, I think he's avoiding fights that I think he can beat these dudes. But it's time he doesn't stop the show. And I think it's for these other dudes, before you hang up and waste away your career waiting to get an opportunity with a guy, you have to proceed. And these other dudes need to start making these challenges. I like what David Benavidez is doing. I like hearing him calling these cats out. I like that he's ready to fight. He's not worried about losing anything. And he really, in his mind, thinks that he's the best. And his father is set on that, thinking that they're the best. And they want to fight whoever. They don't care if you Mexican. They ain't riding with that stuff, not fighting no Mexicans. They will fight a Mexican. And it's time for these dudes to stop running away from things. If you don't want to fight these guys, don't speak of what you want to do and to go and fight them. The same thing with Gary Russell's situation. You ain't got nobody, and you talk about nobody's fighting you. You can't get fights, move to 130. There's a belt available right now because another undisciplined fighter can't make weight. It's time to move up. Go ahead and make the challenge for that belt. It is time for people to stop acting like one or two names holds up the show in boxing. And this is the issue that we're having. Like, what ruins the sport? Is it fans? Is it boxers? Is it networks? Is it promoters? And I think everyone plays a part in that. But that's my thoughts on that, OG.
Yeah, and that, you know, again, when we talk about that, to get these guys to understand, you know, it'll be better for them and their careers as long as they get down into that aspect of fighting. You know, something is wrong when the contenders are not facing each other. You know something is wrong, and it's just something to say, man, when we talk about that. But speaking on that, I want to go ahead and get us into what we've always, you know, called since we started it late last year, Stormyman's Thunderous Top 10. You know, Reggie, I haven't changed this list, but I do think it's in for a shakeup. It's due for a shakeup. I think the Thunderous Top 10 may require some new entries, but this is the same list from our last time that we showed it. And starting at number 10, we got that Shakur Stevenson. But I'm telling you straight away, I'm going to elevate Shakur Stevenson on one merit alone. And do you know what that is, Reggie? Can you guess?
I'm going to guess it's his skill and the fact that he's looking to challenge these guys. He's making a call. I hear him being very vocal about he think he's the best. He's willing to fight everyone.
That's part of it. The other part is he's working corners now. That right there, that tells me the depth of his perception of the sport, to want to be in there fighting and also in there helping someone else get better and win. See, Reggie, the thing is, and Shakur may not even realize this right now. Maybe he does, because I don't know him personally. He can work corners far longer than he can have a career fighting. So building up that aspect of your life, yeah, go ahead and still accomplish what you need to accomplish in your own career. But as you garner that success and you working with other people, man, that right there, because you're walking it and you're sharing it, it's like that is going hat in hand. Dude, I love that. I love it. And that right there is enough alone for me to elevate him from where he is. So when we do our next Thunderous Top 10, I guarantee you Shakur Stevenson will be greatly elevated off of that. Now, at number 9, I still have Artur Beterbiev at that low ranking, but he may fall out of my Thunderous Top 10. And one of the tremendous reasons that he will fall out is the lack of the fact that he and Bivol ain't getting it on. That right there is enough to drop him out of there, as far as I'm concerned, because it's long overdue. It's time for those guys to sort out who's the best between them, so that we can start pushing other challengers in their direction. As long as they try to swim on the edges of the pool without meeting in the center, I can't give him much more credit. Yes, I know he's had a couple of injuries and someone had COVID that he was supposed to fight and everything, but it's time to get your butt in there with Bivol. Bivol ain't had no COVID. Bivol is out there and ready to go, just like he is. It's time for them to face. What are your thoughts of Beterbiev?
You said Benavidez?
Huh?
You said what? My Benavidez?
Beterbiev.
Oh, Beterbiev? Oh, man. Oh, I rock with Beterbiev, man. Not only for what I see him doing in the ring, but when he made that stand-up statement about, protesting the fact that in a purse bid, the Chinese billionaire ended up winning the fight. And it's based on him standing up for his religious causes and the fact that a genocide is occurring over there that's not getting much media attention, and the fact that he stood in solidarity to those folks and turned away that fight, to where it ended up being that the Chinese billionaire ended up rejecting the fight. And so I respect him on that level. But when it comes to him doing his work inside the ring, the guy's a monster in there, and he's serious. No play when it comes to Beterbiev. And even in watching Beterbiev in a fight to where he's been dropped before, and it's nothing to him. He gets right back up. He ain't hurt. And he started off as if the fight just began. And it's all, and sometimes a fighter, it may go bad for a fighter. The fact that the fights that I seen him dropped in, it ended up turning him bad for the fighter. His thing ain't to just go in there and knock you out. He does all the things that are right to me. He works off the jab, he beats, and he breaks the fighter down. He doesn't put himself in too much of risk. He's a very, very strong dude. And to watch the way he beat that dude Volstik down was a thing of beauty. That was a brilliant thing. And it left a trainer who I can't knock. I mean, can I knock Teddy Atlas? I ain't, he's just annoying as heck from the type of stuff he spew out his mouth. But the fact that Teddy Atlas could not do anything to inspire that fighter. Teddy Atlas couldn't do anything to figure out what else can he get up out this fighter, because it was beat out of him. And matter of fact, I think every fighter he's been in here with, he has stopped. So it's a testament of who, what, and I guess I'm going to say where Beterbiev is. He is that dude. But I know he's suffering a little bit of injuries. Could it be a sign of the times? Could it be age? But we'll see when he gets back in the ring. But other than that, this is a bad dude.
Yes, sir. Now, number 8 and number 7, Reggie, I would like to ask you to comment on those two. and I'm still having difficulty over here. So cook on them for a moment. Number 8 and number 7, and I'll come right back with you.
Yeah, number 8, I think should be ahead of number 7. I can't give Gary that thing. I know Batman is one of the brothers and stuff. I don't be saying this to knock your brother Batman if you're out there listening. But like I said, I'm a boxing fan, so I'm gonna keep it thorough as heck. I don't, y'all probably already know I don't rock with what's trendy or whatnot. But when it comes to that, Gary, I know we had it before. I just can't have him on the list, man, just based on the inactivity. I can't view Gary as what is he supposed to be, a 5-year reigning champion? I can't even look at that, because in the 5 years, he only had 5 defenses. And being that his name was in the thick of things, especially, he kind of really lost prestige when it came to what happened in the negotiations that were very, very public, and they're going back and forth. And you hear Gary talking about what he'll do to Terrence Crawford and what he'll do to Tank, and then have someone, because the other guys are quiet, and once somebody opened their mouth and got vocal and was really making moves of getting us to final solution to them getting the event going for us, and it fell through to where he turned down the fight. And then most recently he turns down $1 million offer and taking ridicule over that. So it's like, is Gary serious about anything? And as soon as he turns down that one point whatever $1 million fight it was for Warrington or whoever it was over in England, he's back on here talking about Tank. And then now we dealing with Tank, where Tank may not even fight for another year. So is Gary gonna wait another whole year until Hank reheals his fist before he gets back in the fight? So Gary, I can't rock with Gary, man. And I'm sorry, man. Those who like Gary, if you're offended by that, I'm sorry, I can't do nothing for you. But I got to stick with that one. But Inoue is working his way up. And I would like to put Better Be ahead of Inoue, but Inoue is a bad dude. He's proven himself. Seeing what he went in there and did against Donaire, the quick destruction he did against Maloney. Then to watch the dude yesterday in the exhibition fight, turned it into another real fight, I guess, to keep busy or whatever it was. But I would, if Gary's on the list still, I'll have to keep put Inoue above him, and maybe move Gary to 10. But no, maybe number 9, because I don't think what's his name, Shakur, run enough to pass him up. But most definitely I'll put Gary down at 9. But just based on the inactivity and the fact that he's constantly turning fights down.
Okay, yeah, I'm back, and I have to agree with you on that. And I'm sorry, Reggie, but Gary is going to be in a different position when the new list comes out. And he has done absolutely nothing to change my thoughts on that. And as a matter of fact, he's changed my thoughts in a different manner that questions if he should be on this list at all. So with that being said, that's how I feel about it. Now, going to number 6, Gervonta Tank Davis. After his scintillating knockout over Leo Santa Cruz, he hasn't done anything since then, and he's really missing out on something that Kurt Sugar once talked about. Well, he talks about it frequently, about a fighter riding the wave of success and parlaying that into something else, so you can continue to have that perpetual motion going forward in your career of great performances. These guys today don't understand what timing and sharpness means, Reggie. When Davis trained as hard as he could to make that weight and everything, and for that fight, and to have that type of result. And how many rounds did that fight go again, Reggie? 5? He and Santa Cruz?
I think 5 or 4, yeah.
Yeah. See, he should have been back in the ring by now. By now. Because why? You want to keep that sharpness. You want to keep that timing. He's a young man. He's still in his mid-20s. Dude, he's fighting like a guy that's 30 plus. No, get your butt in there every 3 months. Let's get down. Because guess what? It keeps him sharp. It keeps him active. Keeps him in shape. And your training camps can be camps of where you're working on your skills, and the opponent that you have to face, you're easily facing him in a manner which you can execute what your game plans are. You don't have fat camps. But see, they've blown that opportunity, because in the time since he's had that fight, what do you think he's doing right now? That's what I'm talking about. But he still deservingly has this spot on the Thunderous top 10. But it's one of those things of where they're wasting the talent. They really are. Going to number 5, Jamal Charlo. Jamal, I feel he's at number 5 here based on potential, more so than accomplishments. And now it's time for him to do like we were saying about certain other fighters and contenders. Give me that guy, give me that guy, give me that guy. It's time. And he also, now 30 years old, is fighting like a guy that's beyond 30, you know, taking fights less and less. He should be in there. That fight with Deverenchenko was a good fight for him. It just showed that his class was definitely more so above Deverenchenko's, even more so than other fighters who have faced him. But let's not just rest on our laurels. Get your butt back in that ring, man. Be more frequent a fighter, because you listen, one thing that guys like scrapbook boxing, blood boxing, myself, we know this. There could come a day when those guys walk up that step to the ring and they don't have it no more, Reggie. And when you're inactive, you sit around for 18 months at a time and everything between fights, you'll find out. You'll think that, yeah, the guy that you once were, you still are, because you look the same in the mirror. And you get out there, you get ready to throw shots, and the guy's beating you to the punch. He's knocking you silly around there, and next thing you know, you losing because your timing isn't there. Your physical gifts, they begin to slip. And nobody ever taps you on the shoulder and says, your footwork has slowed down 20% tonight. Your hand speed has slowed down 20% tonight. You're not going to be able to get out of the way of those uppercuts on the inside like you used to tonight. No, it just happens. And that's the thing. These guys got to get in that ring, Reggie. So,
OG, you must not heard the bad news with Tank.
No.
He may be done for the whole year, going in the sparring. And you know, I can speculate on what caused it based on the type of videos that come out. There was recently a dude who came on Fred's show who was talking about he been in the gym. You know, they all get in sparring. They don't go in to spar to learn from each other and teach each other. They go in there to compete and outshine each other, and then get on the internet and talk about, oh yeah, I beat him up in sparring. But we come out and hear Tank broke his hand or whatnot, and we all know it's probably him trying to outstyle, show off on one of these dudes, and now it has cost him a hand. Now he has to sit out another year, and that's kryptonite for Tank Davis.
Oh man, I did not know that. I had heard something about he had hurt his hand, but I didn't look too much into it because I knew eventually I was going to talk to you and find out what was what with that. But if he's got to be out another year, oh man, that's a tremendous setback. That's like taking 2 losses in a row. That's terrible. That's terrible. So
yeah,
what are your thoughts on what I had to offer on Jamal?
No, I agree with you, man. But Jamal, yeah, make sure that ain't Jamel. Yeah, Jamal, I agree with you. And I think he needs to get more active as well. But he took a real hit to his profile based on the talks he's been doing and calling to go to 168. And he was not expecting Benavidez to be up on his heels. This is the second time he has kind of been checked by a fighter who's called him out. And he so much can't play bully against. But at 160 where he's at, he has to get more active. Like, when was that last fight? That seemed to been some time ago. It's about that time for something to start being announced for him. This year is flying by fast. We're almost in the third month of this year. And I mean, I'm not hearing anything. I hear him more on what's that, on Instagram Live with no names or no fight dates coming up. So he should have been, it's time for him to get in the ring. Canelo is doing other things. Leave Canelo alone. If you're not moving to 168 to face a Benavidez, to face a Caleb Plant or whoever it is, get somebody down at 160 and keep yourself active. And he has to keep active, man, or else that time goes by. I always remember time cannot be wasted, man. Time flies so fast. I'll never forget one of my uncle telling me, man, because I used to always clown around and do this and that. He was talking about with school and stuff, and he was like, letting me know, man, stop playing around, man. Time, you think 4 years is a lot of time, you know, starting as a freshman or whatnot. You don't have that much time to start getting grades together and getting it right before you look up. It's over with. And, you know, as he's speaking in my mind, like, yeah, whatever, I got time, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I'm going to the Army. Like, so these dudes have to stop playing. Stop wasting time, because time waits for no one. Time moves rapidly. It moves very, very quick. So he's going to have to do something, man. He's definitely has to do something.
Yes, sir. Now, going up to number 4 here, Josh Taylor. You know, when I put Josh Taylor in here, Reggie, his defeat of Regis Prograis, and I know some people say that had been on different soil, different judges, this and that, but Prograis had a chance to really separate himself and go out there and try to get this guy out of there on his own soil, like you saw Bud Crawford do, like you saw Earl Spence do when they won their titles, you know, outside of the U.S. Because Prograis wasn't able to step up to that. That tells me that Taylor is a lot better than people think he is. And also, if you want to prove me wrong, beat him. Beat him in the ring. And because of what we spoke about a moment ago about that alpha, I think that Josh Taylor has enough to expose that in some of these guys today. So some of them may be more athletically gifted, may even have certain advantages, but I think that kid has a little something on the inside that will test the best of those in the division around him. And this is not a slight to anybody, but in order to garner respect, you have to go get it. And that's the perfect guy to go get it against. And he's going to sit right there for a minute, but hey, prove me wrong. Go in there and beat him. You know, what are your thoughts of Taylor?
Man, he about the only person in the UK who I think is a real fighter. He goes in there and he displays many variations of himself inside of a ring. Like the dude's a tough dude. He doesn't complain. He just comes to fight. And even in the Prograis fight, we watched him with swelling. He ain't worried about none of that. He didn't shy away from action. He got in there and he beat. Well, it was close when I looked on the scorecards, but it didn't appear and look that way. By looking at the fight, just basing it on scorecards, it ended up being close. But when it came down to looking at who was doing the most work, it looked like he was in there trying to intimidate Prograis. He took something out of Prograis that stopped Prograis from being able to get where he wanted to get in the fight, because this guy was beating him to it and taking it away from him. He got physical when he needed to get physical. He banged on the inside when he needed to. He go back on the outside and he box, and he can box very well. He moves very well, especially for a European fighter. I think he's the best thing that they got over there, skill wise, pound for pound, skill wise. He's the best thing outside of Gallimore. I think highly of that kid Gallimore over there too. But this Josh Taylor cat is a real deal cat, and he talks that talk. He don't talk that runaway stuff. He talks that talk. He talks about beating the best guys who are out there, and I like that. And the fact that he's earned his way through one of the tournaments, and he's proven himself. But that's my thoughts, and that's why I gotta give Inoue his respects. Is that Inoue proved himself in one of them tournaments?
Yeah, because in the tournament situation, you're fighting someone who deserved to be there with you. You know, it's not like you picked a guy, and that's why we maybe need to see more of that. But we also need the guys to participate in the tournaments, you know, because that's another form of ducking when you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Look at going back, revisionist history. You look at the guys that Andre Ward was able to defeat, because when he competed in that tournament and he beat the best of the division in the tournament, and when he left the tournament, excuse me. Excuse me. Proceeding forward. Sorry about that, man. Tonight has just been a jacked up night for Stormybman. But yeah, proceeding forward, we saw him overcome the best in his division. So it's a significant thing. Now let's move on to number 3, where I still have Earl Spence Jr. And understand this, Reggie, about these guys at 3, 2, and 1. Earl, Jermell, and Bud. Personally, I think these numbers can change amongst these men with their very next opponents and their outings, how they go about their business. To me, they're actually 1A, 1B, and 1C. Give me your thoughts on those 3 guys, and we can leave it at that right now. 1A, 1B, and 1C for these guys.
No, I can't disagree with that one. I can't disagree, or even with Jamal being ahead of Earl, being that, hey, and I was one of them dudes who, in the last 2 fights that Jermell went into, thinking he was going to lose, where it appeared he was early in the fight, but the guy has a lot of dog. He has the heart of a fighter, and he never quits. It ain't over until it's over, and it's worked out beautifully for him in both of those fights, and he's delivered on his end of the bargain. He's delivered majorly. Crawford has been delivering, regardless of people not, being too happy with the opposition he's been in there with. But since being here, he stopped everything. This dude is stopping everything, making it look very easy as he goes about doing it. And we know he can fight. We know his accomplishments of everywhere Bud has been, it has been on the winning end of things. We know he got skills. He has a lot, and many in the boxing world compliments him. Many fans don't compliment him, but when you listen to those in the boxing world, he is highly respected. He's giving a lot of credit for what he can do inside of that ring and who he is. And we all know it. We just get to where too many people play this. I don't know what's the reason behind being, more having favoritism over this guy versus the other one. A lot of it's regional favoritism and other things of popularity favoritism. But when it comes to Bud, he's accomplished. He's done his thing. It's just a matter of getting him in there. And like Bomac said the other day, is just because, they try to brace it off of, his resume don't look like this, that don't mean Earl can beat him, is what he stated. And that's a true statement. But most people respond to that, get him in the ring. But based on what this guy, Bud, has done since being up here, he has stopped everything at 147, coming from the smaller ranks. We see his style. We see him blended. Same thing I was saying with Josh Taylor. He can change the aspects of a fight. He can bang on the inside. He can be a dog when he needs to. He can change it to being dynamic, box you on the outside. He can box you from the outside as an orthodox fighter or a southpaw fighter. He figures these things out. He knows what punches to throw when he doesn't want to get hit. He can fight like that. When he wants to mix it up and knowing he has to be, open to taking the shots, or if he's looking to go for the stop, he's going to take more of those risks, and he's going to challenge you as a man. I see him in these fights where people are like, oh, he's getting touched too much. No, in those moments, I see him testing the will of the fighter that he's in there with, and more, and 100% of the time, he's beating the will up out of these guys. So I definitely agree with that. And also with Earl Spence, man, he's come back from that auto accident, seemed to be not missing a beat. I never seen no one do what he did to Danny Garcia. He looked good doing it. But yeah, I definitely agree with how you have the list set.
Yes, sir. And you know something? As we close this out on the Thunderous Top 10, those guys, they're the best in the sport right now, those three. And it's amazing that they're only a weight class away from one another. Two guys are in the same division and one is just above. But class tells. Class is always told. And Mel is significantly better than his brother. And I see something now shaping up about their careers, Reggie, that, again, you don't see these things when people start out, but as they go forward and they continue to move and everything, wheat separates from the chaff. See, when Mel decided that he wanted a change in trainer, that was him stepping out, becoming his own man. Yes, they're twins. They're identical twins. They probably had to share more than they wanted to share in their lives. And both probably deep down do want certain things to separate them. But just as he embraced his loss to Tony Harrison, and he said, my loss separates me from my brother as far as our boxing careers, because I have a loss and he doesn't. But what did it also do for him? It motivated him, Reggie, to another level of accomplishments. And he's one fight away from being undisputed now. And you could see like the red in his eyes. He wants it. He wants it. He wants to get to that next level. You can't help but want something like that for a guy like that. Earl has that same thing. He wants to be able to accomplish this. He wants to consolidate these belts, become undisputed, and become the man so he can move forward with his career. Bud wants Earl because he feels if I beat that guy, then y'all gonna have to give me my just due, because y'all say he the man. See, each of these men have something to shoot for, and that's why there's a certain fire there. And that's why they are the ones to watch at the top of the Thunderous Top 10. So that's my final statement on that. But yeah, we got Reggie tomorrow, the sets of fights. Josh Warrington is taking on that Mauricio Lara guy, and this is another one of those fights broadcast on DAZN, and we get a chance to see Warrington and see what he's about. But it could end up being a showcase fight for Warrington. He may be a little rugged for this guy, but we'll see. That's why once the bell rings, anything can happen, right? But whoever thought we would see Fan Man coming into the ring, trying to fly into a ring in a heavyweight championship fight outside in an outside arena, man. That was crazy. But yeah, this is the one of the fights tomorrow. Are you calling this one, Reggie?
I think so if I'm up early enough, because I got some things to do in the morning. But if not, I'm gonna be tuning in from the phone while I'm out running about. But I'm gonna try to get back to call it because I think it comes on about 2 o'clock Pacific time.
Okay, because that's the thing. As I'm looking at it, it says 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that's a little earlier for you, right? What is that, like 12 for you?
Yeah, might be 11. Let me see. 2 o'clock, 11, 12. Yeah, that's 11 o'clock here.
Okay. And that's 1 o'clock my time. So I am going to be doing In the Eye of the Storm with 78 Sports when this kicks off. So I won't be able to see that. In the Eye of the Storm might run an hour. It might run a little over an hour if 78 has more to cook on. So that's the thing. I won't be able to be checking this one out. I mean, I could record it, but it's on DAZN, so I'll be able to see a replay on it anyway. But yeah, so I won't be able to catch that live. But what do you think about this particular fight? Because they said he has given up his the IBF featherweight title after fighting that guy Wu Chan, and you know, it could be one of those situations where this is just a formality for him. But Warrington is a featherweight, and he would do well to fight some of these other guys that are out there, the bigger names. I think this is just another showcase fight for him at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so too. I didn't even know the fight was coming on until you just said that.
Yeah.
But I think he's the one who was calling out Gary Russell. So I'm guessing showcase, and they probably trying to set that up or not.
Yeah, he does. He does want Russell. I do recall hearing him say that. And of course, Russell said something about the money that they wanted to offer him wasn't enough and this and that. It was like, dude, you know what? That's become an old record that nobody wants to hear anymore, man. Seriously. But yeah, this is a fight that's taking place, and it's going to be on DAZN. So 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 1 p.m. Central. So yeah, so that's going to be on DAZN. Josh Warrington against Mauricio Lara, and we'll see what happens with that. We'll do a post-fight show tomorrow night after these fights, but there's another fight, Reggie, that it got, let me see. I see what I did here. Okay, yeah. There's another fight, Reggie, that is being moved up to the main event. And that's the fight between Richard Comey and Marinez. You know, this is on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. Eastern. And due to the Joe Smith fight, against Maxim Vlasov, the guy come down with COVID or something, I guess, that took him, he tested positive with COVID, so it took him out of the match. So now the Comey fight has been made the main event. And it's interesting because, with everything that's going on, a chance to fight in front of a television audience and do something spectacular. Comey would do well to try to come back from the loss he had against Tio, and we'll see what he can do. What are your thoughts on Comey and going forward?
Comey, if he takes this loss, he may have to rethink his career. But I like this fight for that it got bumped up for the dude Moranes is that the fact that he was cheated in his last fight against Rolly, which they should have forced Rolly into rematch, but it just shows where Rolly's holding the championship belt. It's doing nothing with it. This guy's trying to challenge himself by going in here against a former fighter who's lost to the current, undisputed. I won't call him what they supposed to be calling him, the Unified. I ain't supposed to call him the undisputed because of that WBC thing, but the unified champion in the divisions. The fact that he's going in here to test to see what he's going to do against him. And with this guy, he's a boxer, so his style is boxing. He ain't expected to go out here and just try to run through, Comey. But if it comes, it comes. But his thing is to go out there, box as well as he did against Rolly, and pull out the victory. But this is a good opportunity. Now that he's a main event, that's a good thing for him. I like to see that's where things panned out, being that judges in the sport of boxing did not do the right thing, but this guy is given an opportunity that hasn't set him back. Loss ain't a bad thing, especially when you want to challenge yourself. And now he's a main event. He's a main event fighter coming off of a loss and fighting a former axe for no better. And I'm glad that the people within boxing in his top rank, which I'm surprised, did the right thing in putting this guy in this position like that.
Yeah, and it seems like Top Rank, for these guys that are fighting and battling at this level, that seems like that's what their niche is. That's the best that they have to offer in the sport. And as long as we know that it is what it is, that's fine. But to try to think that there's going to be something better or greater stacked on top of that, no, we have to just be accepting of who they are and what they're doing, and that's as far as it's going with Top Rank right now. So, but we'll see what happens. When I checked the scheduling for this, they were talking about, because they were shuffling fights around on the card and everything, that this might even go on a little later for the main event, because Joe Smith and Vlasov was supposed to be the main event. So it may be around 10 p.m. that we get to see that on ESPN. The Comey and Marinez undercards will be at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. So I correct myself in that. I said they were going to start at 7 p.m., but the undercards on ESPN Plus for Comey and Marinez, and the main event will be at 10 p.m. on ESPN. So, and then at 8 p.m., Reggie, on DAZN, we'll get to see Jojo Diaz coming back, and his fight against Rachmaninoff. So what do you think about that? Diaz coming back.
Man, Diaz messed up big time. He's no longer a champion. So I don't know how he's going to perform if that holds him back. But I think if it doesn't mess with him mentally, he's still going to come in and put on a good performance. I'm not too sure about the other guy, but I like the heart of Jojo Diaz. I like the way he performed against Tevin Farmer. Even after suffering a cut, he was determined. And he was so determined to becoming a champion. I don't understand how he becomes so undisciplined and losing on a scale. Even with him fighting Gary Russell Jr., he gave Gary Russell Jr. one of the toughest fights Gary done had. It was a very, very tough fight. So I like the kid Jojo Diaz. So I'm a root for him, and I don't know too much about the opponent, who I won't underestimate, because, like I said, it's boxing, anything can happen. So, but it's unfortunate he come in there 4 pounds overweight, which is a sad thing.
Yeah. And I know that Tevin Farmer recently, in an interview that he did, he said he wanted him back. You know, he wanted Diaz back in the ring. So the fact that he wants that, you know, it means a lot. And we'll see if they end up facing each other again. I think that's definitely a fight that's good enough for a rematch, don't you? To see Diaz and Farmer in there again against each other.
Oh yeah, no doubt, because there was obviously something going on with Farmer as well. So yeah, I definitely like to see him back in there.
Yeah, so I'll see him get in there, and again, and we've talked about this in the past too, as far as rematches. It's like rematches kind of help sustain the sport. People don't realize how the significance of rematches. To be able to get in there and have guys, go around, because like sometimes it just may not have been your night. Like tonight, I've had a horrible night. Even right now as we speak, the system is buffering like crazy. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're trying to drag through the finish line. But it's like in boxing, it's the same way. Guys just have tough nights, and something could just go wrong just before that opening bell. But to see them get back in there, do it again, and give their best efforts to try to overcome whatever were their setbacks the first go round, I can't have anything but respect for fighters who want to do that. So, that's important. And more of these fighters should do that. There's about 5 fights that have transpired between some guys over the past couple of years that warrant a rematch or a run back, so to speak. And this definitely be one of them, between JoJo Diaz and Tevin Farmer. So, but yeah, man. Reggie, that's pretty much been the show, man. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to offer up before we get out of here?
No, that was about it, man. It's a great show. OG, this is a real dope show. I enjoy the conversation. But I don't have anything else to add. I was thinking Canelo was fighting this week, but I can't wait to see it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he fights next week, right?
Yeah, he fights at the end of the month. Canelo's fight is at the end of the month. I think the 27th.
Oh, okay. And then don't Broner fight this month too?
Yeah, Broner is supposed to be fighting. I don't have his fight date in front of me yet, but yeah, he is supposed to be coming up. He's either fighting maybe the first week of March. I'm not sure. I have to look into that, but it's coming up. It's coming up, definitely. So.
But no, I like that we got fights coming in. It's starting to heat up, so I'm loving that.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, I'll still be willing to do a post-fight regardless of how things turn out tomorrow, so we can come back on the airwaves and give them some content and talk about the matches. So, that's my thoughts on that. I'll still like to do a post-fight show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And don't forget, for everybody that's out there listening, that we will have In the Eye of the Storm 78 Sports TV Part 2 tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central. And the General will be back to talk to us about many of things. We were getting some background on him and what got him to start the community and everything, and we're going to pick up where we left off. If you guys didn't have a chance to catch the first show, it was pretty darn good. The General was pressed for time. That's why we had to end it when we did so. And before I could ask him for a return for a part 2, he was like, hey man, this was cool, let's do it again. So that was cool to hear him be really motivated and tell me he was ready to come back for a part 2 before I had to even ask. So much respect to the General. He's the one that helped create a lot of this, and he's a tremendous influence positively in the manner of producing content for the YouTube airwaves. Definitely influenced me because I was away from the sport and had just started logging on to YouTube and trying to check out some videos, and there his channel was, and that's how I came across him. But Yeah, great show, Reggie. Sorry for all the technical difficulties that we've had to deal with this evening. We will get this thing turned around, and we'll go forward. Salute to Tone Brown out there in the chat. He says Castano versus Teixeira is tomorrow as well. Yeah, that's one that we didn't talk about, Reggie, but that fight is tomorrow as well on the zone, I think. And we'll see what happens there, because that's the man that's holding that other belt, temporarily until Jamel can get a hold of it. So hopefully that we'll get a chance to see that that unification soon between those guys, and we can have an undisputed at 154. So yes, sir. But I think that's it we got for you guys this evening. This has been another edition of the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. And for everybody that's out there, for those of you that tune in late, we had some technical difficulties early in the show. You can check us back on the replay. And the show didn't really get cooking until like 15-20 minutes in because of the technical difficulties. Stormybman started a little late, but trying to finish up strong and just let you guys know that we're doing our best out here. I'm an OG, so this high-tech computer stuff, it acts up, but I'm learning a lot as I go along, and I'm becoming more experienced with this. So you can't keep a good storm out, right? The storm will still come and be upon you. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And for those of you out there haven't had a chance to check out the merchandise on the Stormybman channel, please do yourself a favor with that. Drop by the merchandise store and get you some effects. We got baseball caps, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got windbreakers. Do yourself a favor and go over there and check some of that stuff out, man. We got great stuff out there. I know brother DT was out there. He said he got a t-shirt, but I got a chance to ask him if he liked his shirt or not with all these technical problems early on. So that's what but hey, it is what it is. We out here, we're trying to make the most of it, and we're gonna get on up out of here. I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the fights tomorrow night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one for the Friday Night Chop Session, man. Catch you on the next one. So peace.